Welcome everyone to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, The Next Level of Sacred Mediumship. The 15-week live video training in advanced practices to access higher consciousness, stronger spirit connections, and deeper readings. I'm Lisa Bonise, and I'm really looking forward to this Q&A conversation for the Shift Network, where we'll explore the teachings of Suzanne Giesemann and address questions about her upcoming 15-week course, The Next Level of Sacred Mediumship, which begins Wednesday, January 15th. And a little later, I'll explain how you can participate in the course, even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, I want to introduce our guest. Suzanne Giesemann is a messenger of hope and the founder and teacher of The Awakened Way, a path to knowing who you are and why you're here. She's a former U.S. Navy commander who served as a commanding officer and aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff on 9/11. Today, Suzanne provides stunning evidence of the existence of universal consciousness and our interconnectedness. Suzanne's authored 13 books and has led weekend retreats at well-known spiritual centers, including the Omega Institute and Unity Village. And in just a few minutes, we're going to open up for your questions. But first, I want to welcome Suzanne, who's going to begin our call by leading us in a guided invocation. Welcome, Suzanne. It's great to be with you today.
Hi, Lisa, and hi, everybody. I love feeling the excitement online from everybody that knew about this event in advance. You could just feel the energy building. So I don't know about any of you, but my day was like most days, running around really busy, and suddenly we were shifting gears to be here. So I wanted to do an invocation, but I also wanted to just use a tool to talk about what we're doing. Many people who are into metaphysics are familiar with a pendulum, and I happen to have one, but I don't really use it. Many people use it for getting yes or no answers, but once you learn how to tune into higher consciousness, you don't need a tool like a pendulum because your body and your intuition will give you the answers that you need. But this is just a great way to describe what we mean when we talk about getting centered. So think about your thoughts and your moods. And most human beings are swinging back and forth like this all the time, a little out of balance, or you could say we're thinking about the past, then we think about the what ifs, thinking about the future, and our minds are just constantly going. So when we talk about getting centered, literally, it's bringing our thoughts that are constantly swinging one way or the other to the center position where there's no motion. There's only peace. So take a moment with me then, and let's get centered together so we can be focused on this beautiful time together. Would you join me in just taking a nice in-breath and exhale longer than you inhale? Doesn't that feel wonderful? And just like that, all of us meet in the same place, in the center of being. And being, pure being, is our natural state. But so few people take the time to simply be. And the more you spend time in this state, the more you open your awareness to the insights that come from pure awareness. So as we get together today and set aside this time for our spiritual growth, our vibrational growth, let's all move to our heart space and give ourselves gratitude for having carved out this time to learn and grow together. And now send out rays of light to each other, acknowledging that all of us have this shared desire to grow and learn. And so gratitude to Spirit for bringing us all together at this time. May each of us hear exactly what we need to hear. And I'm asking my guides that the answers I provide today come from the highest possible place. And so it is. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne. I really needed that. I've been having the same kind of morning you have. So thank you for bringing us all into this space. All right. Well, we have the rest of our time together to dive into our viewers' questions for Suzanne as we prepare for her upcoming course. Again, that's called The Next Level of Sacred Mediumship, and it begins Wednesday, January 15th. And if you want to check out the website and learn more about the course, 15 weeks long, you can visit nextlevelmediumship.com to see the full description. So let's go ahead and get started with our conversation. If you have a question for Suzanne, go ahead and type it in and I'll be happy to read them aloud. And we've got some questions already submitted. So let me start out with sort of a foundational one. I think a lot of people want to know this. This question says, I've never been able to successfully get answers for questions or connect to higher consciousness. That leaves me wondering if this is only for a select few who are blessed in this lifetime to be able to practice mediumship.
That's such a great question, and it's perfect for me because I was one of those people who felt that I never made the connection before. Remember, the Navy officer was my main career for most of my life, and I had no idea I would one day be connecting, let alone teaching so many people how to do it themselves. But what I've learned from my guides, from that connection, is that we are intimately connected to higher consciousness. So the first task is sitting in the silence and asking, show me, allow me to know what I am. We could ask who I am. Asking who versus what gives a slightly different spin on it, but come to know you are the consciousness you're tapping into. You are an expression of consciousness. So every thought that comes to you is already a part of source. Don't expect bells and whistles all the time. Your intuition has been speaking to you your whole life. So the first step is establishing a practice, hopefully some kind of contemplative practice, meditation, practicing presence, so that you can get to that place where you instantly clear out the thoughts and start to discern the difference between your thoughts and those that come from the higher levels. But ultimately, there's only one mind. This is the kind of deeper type of metaphysics we're going to go into in the class, and I'll try to do my best to put it into terms that make sense for our experiences that we have.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that cleared up that question. We've got sort of a next step into the same topic here. A few people are asking, how long does it take practicing this before you actually connect with spirit and get messages? And then there's an additional question of, can you ask for a specific individual or you just get whoever comes through?
That, how long does it take, is a question that I will never answer because every one of us is on our unique path. There may be some who, by grace, have a sudden opening and are flooded with insights. I'm not going to tell you how long it took me, but I'll tell you it was a direct result of my commitment to connecting and a daily, regular practice of sitting in the silence and training my mind to be silent. So once you are truly committed to this path, you will start reaping results. There's no doubt about that. But how much you open it is going to be dependent upon your personal path. I just know that it's possible for all of us. I say this over and over because we all are souls. We are that expression of consciousness. So because we never know what's possible, I encourage you to have a wondrous miracle mindset that says that miracles happen all the time and they're going to happen to me as well. The other question was, can we ask for specific people? Absolutely. I mean, when I got into this, it was to connect with my stepdaughter, Suzanne, who had passed, and that ultimately did happen. And then, I'm going to get into this in the class. I wanted to connect with certain masters, such as, well, right off the bat, Jesus. I wasn't born or raised in any kind of religious family, but I thought, if I'm going to go high, why don't I ask for Jesus or Buddha or one of the masters? And I'll be sharing in the class the evidence I got from that connection. You can ask to speak to your guides. And so, yes, you can be specific, but also it's really fun when you just ask, whoever will help me in my growth today, please come now. So do it both ways. Be specific and then just be open to the highest good that can happen in that moment. I call it playing. Just play and have this childlike attitude. And that's when the real miracles happen.
Okay, thank you. You actually brought something up that a few people are asking about. You mentioned asking for the highest level of information, but some people are sort of afraid that by opening themselves, they might be bringing forth like negative spirits, and they're wondering how safe is this?
Well, what is it? Who was it Kennedy that said you have nothing to fear but fear itself? The lower vibrations do exist, but they are very much attracted to a fearful vibration. So this path is beautiful because it encourages you to realize I am the light and to turn up that light. And I teach everybody that any lower vibrations don't like that light. They're going to be attracted to darkness. So certainly they're around and mostly are creations of the human consciousness. So what I encourage everybody to do is recognize I am the light, literally turn up your heart light through visualization and intention. And if you should feel any vibration that frightens you, simply state, whoever or whatever you are, you must completely leave my energy field now. There's a vibrational law called the law of personal responsibility, and those in the spirit world must obey. It's been my personal experience that this works, and I simply go at this work with no fear whatsoever, and this has rung true for me. So just practice with that. Be aware of your thoughts, and if you're feeling fearful, call in the highest possible help and then radiate exactly what they bring to you.
Okay, great. So while we're on the topic here, we've got a question here. Somebody's asking, what are your beliefs in smudging with sage for protection or purifying? Do you believe that's necessary or helpful?
Absolutely, but not because I'm afraid of evil spirits. It's because I have my energy field that I've worked hard to refine, to turn up the vibration, to make it as pure and clear as possible. I'm still a work in progress, by the way. We all are. But I'm interacting with a lot of people whose energy is not resonant with mine. Many of them are in deep grief. Some of them may have their own fears about anything. And so what saging does is it helps to clear the air, the energy, the space of any vibrations that don't serve you. The way I came to know how useful saging is I had done about 600 private readings when I noticed that my accuracy started going down. And as I teach in all my classes, when you have a question about why things aren't going well, ask your guides. And so I sat and I said to my main mediumship guide, what's going on with my readings? I'm not doing so well. And the answer was, you've done over 600 readings in this space and you have never cleared the energy. And I said, what? I'm supposed to do that? Because you see, I'm the Navy commander, and my teachers had never brought up saging. So I looked into it, and it turns out it's not a woo woo thing. It's energy that's been understood from various cultures throughout the ages. So I got myself some sage. I now have some liquid sage that I take to hotel rooms if I'm working in a different environment. And immediately after saging, my accuracy went up again. And so it's a beautiful tool that we're given simply to reach a nice state of resonance with our true nature.
Wow, thank you. That was a great answer. We've got another question here. If I ask a loved one who's passed over for a sign and I get one, how do I know for sure that it's from them and not due simply to the law of attraction? What I think about shows up.
I'm laughing because do you see how we humans get in our way? First, we have to have a sign. We put them to the test, and the spirit world doesn't mind that at all. Then you get exactly the sign you asked for, and then we're going to doubt that some more. So I tell you, the spirit world has a lot of patience with our human side. I would say celebrate that. Don't question it so much. That's left brain. Laugh at yourself. And if you need to, ask another sign, but give gratitude where it's due. And I totally get that need to question, but this journey is about trusting. The more you trust and play and enjoy the gifts that are given to us, the more they come to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Here's one. Sharon wants to know, are spirits aware that they're dead?
Oh gosh, I would say 99.9% are aware. I have not. Oh, I did. I had one experience with a gentleman who was not aware he had passed. So this has been a big growing opportunity for me to open my mind to things that we imagine can't possibly be true. But in almost every case, there's an immediate knowing. I deal with a lot of spirits who've taken their own lives, and it's very interesting. I've had just a few who tell me that their action was very spontaneous, that they really didn't think it through. And immediately they said, "Oh, what have I done?" Because they know that they've passed. Those who go suddenly through some kind of traumatic event are pretty aware right away because they see their body. That's the biggest clue. But mostly, for all of you, this is not wishful thinking. It's what thousands of souls across the veil have told me. They feel this love that permeates everything. They're suddenly just so much more expansive, able to visit loved ones, and they know they have experienced a transition.
Okay, great. Now we've got a lot of people asking this question. So let's get into an actual conversation. What are your thoughts? Let's begin with just one question. What are your thoughts on reincarnation?
Well, in the past, I didn't know if it was real or not, but I've had so many examples of my guides in the spirit world telling me that it is so. And certainly at the human level, you can read the research work by Dr. Ian Stevenson, for example, that researched hundreds and hundreds of children who remember past lives. But I do know that reincarnation is a very real thing and do have some spirits talk about past lives. I don't really dive into that. I don't talk about it much in my courses, but it's a very real thing.
Hmm. Okay. Well, then, how about if can you still access a spirit if they have been reincarnated?
This is one of the main questions I'm asked, and I'm happy to tell you that my guides have explained this beautifully. That we in human form tend to think in all or nothing form, that we leave this body and we return to spirit, and then we choose another body, and that's it. Once we're in another body, nobody's going to be able to contact us. But you are spirit. All of us are souls. Put another way, we are beings of light, formless beings. And this person you know as your loved one or even yourself is really a pattern of patterns of energy that is recognizable as you, but is still light energy. So when you pass from this body without the physical form, you dissolve back into your greater light being aspect. Yet the patterns that make up you and the intelligence, the consciousness, the sentience that makes up you still exists within that field of light. That's the greater light being aspect of you. So at some time, if your higher self says, well, let's go and focus on these traits that perhaps were not well developed in that last lifetime, they create a new physical body and a new person. But that person will have different patterns, yet still within the greater light being, the one who is your loved one still exists and is still accessible. But both come from the same, let's call it an oversoul. So we take on certain, we call it flavorings with each lifetime that we have here, all adding to the oversoul. So I can access anybody, any medium who is trained to connect across the veil can access people who have even passed decades ago, generations ago, even if that person has reincarnated.
Okay, great. Thank you. You actually just answered a whole bunch of other questions that have been coming in. So then let's move to a slightly, just a little to the side of that. People are wondering, are we still family when we cross over in heaven is basically what they're saying. Will we be families together in the afterlife?
Those patterns continue to interact is what I've been shown by those who cross. And always we're met by the loved ones who we want to meet, where there's a love connection. If there were some perhaps abusive situation and there's no desire to meet up with someone, that is respected in the spirit world. But our roles here continue to play out on the other side as long as they add to the evolution of the soul. And so family groups continue to interact across the veil and reincarnate as family groups, but often taking on different roles than before. So my guides in one of my channeling sessions were joking that if you and your sibling push each other's buttons, then you may come back in reverse roles, so you get to do that to the other person. Kind of funny. Lisa, I'm being told repeatedly here, I want to just add on to something that I said a couple questions ago about the example of somebody who may have made a rash decision and taken their own life and says, what have I done? This is the beauty of reincarnation, that they do get to come back and work on those things. But all those who have crossed by suicide show me that they are lovingly greeted. They are not judged. They see that they may have made a mistake in crossing before it was actually their time to pass. And many of them then begin to help others here to not make those decisions. So I don't want anybody to panic and think that their loved ones are suffering. They certainly know and see the effects of their decision, but the next realm truly is one of love and all the support we could ask for.
All right. Well, thank you for addressing that, because that question did just come in, interestingly enough. So perfect. Okay. So let's see. So many questions to choose from. I'm trying to get ones that will answer many at a time. We've got people asking, what are your thoughts about energy healing?
Oh, I just had a dear friend here for the last 3 days, and she was doing Reiki on my dog. And you should have seen Rudy soaking it up. It was beautiful, because without a belief system that something works or doesn't work, just watch an animal. They can feel that energy. Energy healing is a very real thing, because we are energetic beings. Our intention moves that energy, but as any energy healer will tell you, the healer is just the conduit. It's just harnessing the higher power that we as mediums tap into as well. It was interesting that I was able to help one of my clients heal when she had become stuck in a certain memory after her loved one passed. And I didn't consider myself an energy worker, but my guides said, we will help to clear that block, but you will be the conduit. And they told me to take her hands right in the middle of a reading. And I took her hands, and we both felt this whoosh of energy flowing from my hands into hers. And she was absolutely cured of what she called that Groundhog Day moment. So what we're working with, whether we're mediums or healers, is all the power of the source that animates all that is. What a blessing.
Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. And you brought up animals, which is another question a lot of people are asking about. Can we get messages from our dearly departed pets, animal friends, etc.?
I have to take a deep breath with that one, because I just went through the crossing of my very first pet on Christmas Day, my beloved dachshund Gretchen, who's my baby. And within seconds of her passing, I heard her. And I have connected with other people's beloved pets, and I've told people all along it's very possible, and they talk to mediums in full sentences, because it's now a vibration that our energetic field translates into words. And my little girl is now talking to me in full sentences, which has made the processing of this transition so much easier for me. So we need to open our belief that it's possible. At first, in my first few years as a medium, I didn't connect with pets because I didn't understand that they can communicate just as clearly as people. But I have some wonderful stories of connecting with cats and dogs and, even a horse, I believe. And they have the same loving messages for us as our human loved ones do.
All right. Well, thank you for addressing that. I'm sure many people absolutely feel what you're going through. I do as well. Um, so while we're talking about non-human communication, other people are asking about communicating with angels, fairies, spirit guides, etc. What about communication with the non-human realm?
They are just waiting for us to ask and to open up those channels of communication. I laugh at myself because I remember in the very beginning of my work, I had no doubt I was connecting with people's loved ones who had passed, but the Navy commander in me said, I just can't believe this whole angel thing. It took me a while to understand spirit guides are real and they're helping us, but angels, that's a whole other thing. And then I had this fabulous reading where I had received a message from an angel, but I didn't trust it. And this woman came for a reading with me, and her friend who had passed came in from the spirit world to be heard from. And I said, your friend's showing me you used to pray together. And she used to use tarot cards. She said, oh, yes, we love to do those kind of things. So there's the evidence. Now I know I'm talking to her friend. She showed me how she passed all the elements of a good reading that I teach people to get. And then the message, this woman in the spirit world looked straight at me and she said, angels are real. And I laughed and I reported this to my client. And much to my surprise, she burst into tears. Why? Because before she came into my room for the reading, she stood outside the door, talked to her friend, and said, I so want to hear from you. I need to know that you're okay. And to truly know that it's okay, I want you to talk about angels. So that's just one magical story. But angels are part of our lineage as human beings and light beings. They're here to help us. They're all around. And the beautiful thing about any of my teaching is that it shows you that the process I teach to connect with loved ones also helps us connect at any level.
Hmm. Okay. Well, then what about fairies? That was the one aspect that you didn't talk about.
I I didn't believe in fairies either until my stepdaughter Suzanne made me buy a book on fairies, and I put it back because I didn't want my husband, the retired Navy destroyer captain, to see me reading a book on fairies. And so finally I bought it, and oh, I had the most wondrous experience with these fairies in my backyard. I didn't see them objectively, but I could feel their presence, and it was light and it was bubbly and like something I'd never seen before. And they drew me and said, look at this tree over here. And we had recently moved to this house with all these beautiful live oak trees in the backyard. So following what I heard from these alleged fairies, I walked down into the extended backyard, walked right up to the tree they guided me to, and I kid you not, there were two little crystals embedded in the bark, had to have been there for decades. It was a stunning moment. So again, I tell everybody, be willing to play, suspend your disbelief. And the more you do that, the more we open ourselves to incredible adventures in consciousness.
Okay, great. Thank you. And for those of you who are just joining us, we're here with Suzanne Giesemann, learning about her upcoming course, The Next Level of Sacred Mediumship, which begins Wednesday, January 15th. And you can log on to nextlevelmediumship.com for all the details and to register. All right, let's get back into questions here. We've got so many great ones here. This is such a great conversation. Thank you for this. Let's see. How about, okay, there are people asking about the course itself. By the end of the course, for example, what will I be able to do is a question.
That is going to completely depend on the level of commitment, the energy you put into this, and the quality of your consciousness. Now, what do I mean by that? Where are your thoughts? How positive or negative are they? What are you going through in your life right now? Are you in a place of grief? I tell you, during the time that we found out about our Gretchen's illness, very short period, and the time she had to pass and the bit afterwards, I had to stop doing readings because my grief absolutely knocked me off balance. And I'll be teaching about why even mediums grieve, even knowing that she's right here. But all of those factors will play into how much you'll be able to do at the end of the course. But the great thing about the course is it's so filled with practical tools that you will have everything you need to open up your field, and constant improvement will be experienced if you apply those tools. I know this is so. I have people that are working as professional mediums now who, just like me, had no idea that they would be doing that. But even if your goal is not to be a professional medium, these things that I'll be sharing absolutely are transformational. And I can only say that from personal experience. And this is the thing I love about this path. It just keeps getting better. And I keep adding to the outline of the course, even now, just this morning, more insights from the team in spirit, and adding always just more and more, because that's why we're here, evolution of the soul. And that's what makes life so exciting once you realize we have a limitless source of guidance and insights available to us now. You won't need me forever, because you are going to be able to tap in yourself to all the guidance that you could ever need.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's go back to the safety question, because we're still getting questions about that. This one says, if I believe a spirit is visiting regularly, should I try to communicate? I'm new at this, and I'm unsure if it's safe to make a contact with an unknown presence.
Okay. If we set the highest intention that only those spirits who are completely of the light, we might say, everything is light, but of the highest good is invited to be in my field, then anybody we sense, greet them with that same light. And just like if you'd meet somebody at a party and suddenly you just don't get a good feel about them, then you would just say, I don't wish to have contact with you anymore. You must completely leave. You'd say that to a spirit. So it's no different than dealing with humans in that regard. And so if somebody shows up, I always encourage people, ask them who they are, why they're here, and how you can help them. And then keep that conversation going as long as it's helpful and healing. Those are two really important factors.
Okay, thank you for addressing that again for anyone who might have missed the question when we first talked about it at the beginning. Gosh, I'm looking through these questions here. Here's an interesting one. Somebody's wondering, his mother didn't speak English. So if he was to visit a medium, how would they speak English to you? How does that language barrier
It
work?
is no problem at all. Communication across the veil happens telepathically, and many of us do that here with people we spend a lot of time with a partner, for example. You know what they're saying even before they say it, know what they're thinking. So over and over, I have experienced people who never spoke a word of English, yet it comes through my awareness in English sentences. Just like I was talking about pets talking to us, comes through in English words. It goes through what's the word I can use here? A translation process without us even knowing. It's an energetic signal, telepathic, that comes from the spirit world. And somehow, I don't know the mechanics of it, that signal is converted. That's the word, conversion. Converted into words that we would understand. Ideally, and this is one of the benefits of the next level course, we get to the point where words are not even necessary. We just know exactly what the message is we're supposed to convey.
Okay. Sounds like the TARDIS translation circuit for those Doctor Who fans out there. Let's see. Here's a question from Amy. She says, I'm clairaudient, sometimes hear a voice that sounds like it's on fast forward, and I'm unable to make out the message. Is it my connection, or do I need to just ask them to slow down?
It could be your connection. They could be very excited, but absolutely, that's what you do. You just say, slow it down, please. I talk to the spirits all the time, and if I don't quite get something, I'll say, give that to me another way. I didn't catch that. Or even if you're clairvoyant and you see something and it's really fast, give me that again. What's another example of that? Oh, if they're coming on a little bit too strong, say you're feeling a physical symptom that someone had here and it's uncomfortable, you simply need to say, back that off, and they do.
Okay. Well, that sort of leads into another question here. Again, I don't want to keep pounding on the safety question, but it's sort of related to that. Megan says, I've been told by a medium that one of my grandfathers wants to communicate with me. I've never met him, but in photos, he looks cruel. Also, he died in a violent accident. I can feel his presence, but I'm afraid. Is it possible to safely open to receive messages from him?
I need to ask my team on this one. Oh, there's my little lip twitch that happens when my guides are present. What I'm hearing is that this is a lesson for that person, for Amy. Was that Amy who asked the question?
That was Megan.
Okay, I thought I might have gotten that wrong. Whoever, for Megan, this is a lesson in you watching your own fears, and notice how a picture, you gave it meaning, and that was one glimpse, one snapshot. Understand that when we get to the other side, souls continue to evolve, and that grandfather may have seen the light. This is a symbol I see when those across the veil suddenly realize what it's all about. It's all about love, and he may have a very loving message for you. So again, examine your own fears, and I just keep smiling when I hear the safety issue come up, because the more we sit in the silence and ask, who and what am I, the more we come to truly know what it means to be the light, to be love, and to radiate that love, and to know that nothing can harm us. That is the most beautiful benefit of doing this work. So I know that all is well ultimately, and that once we claim that power that is ours and radiate that to the spirit world and those here, then that is what we will experience.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk a little bit about channeling. A lot of people are asking a lot of different questions. So let me just ask a general one. I know that this is part of your work, so and that will also be part of the class. So can you just tell us a little bit about the topic in general?
Yes, indeed. This will be the first time that I've actually taught about channeling. Because we have 15 weeks, I'm going beyond my normal next level mediumship class, and I'm going to talk about how it is that I began channeling my guide Sanaya. I have a lot of special sessions that have been recorded, and they're available publicly. You can actually watch the channeling process, and people are familiar with others who channel as well. And to me, it is just the most wondrous experience, because we offer our energy field to those in the spirit world, and we become their voice and their arms for expressing what they have to share with people. And there are certain ways that you can tell that actual channeling is happening, that this is someone from the spirit world talking through the medium, and not just the medium talking for themselves. I never studied channeling before it actually happened to me. So it was a real thrill to channel for the first time, do it repeatedly, then get a book on it and say, yeah, that's exactly what's been happening to me. So we're going to talk about that in the class, and then how, if anybody desires, to open ourselves to that. And again, it's perfectly safe.
Okay, great. We are getting a lot of questions about the course itself, so let me go ahead and answer those. We have time for a few more questions for Suzanne, but I do want to give some details. Again, it's called The Next Level of Sacred Mediumship, and this is going to be an amazing 15-week journey under Suzanne's expert guidance, where you'll learn to communicate with your loved ones beyond the veil through the power of evidential mediumship. We haven't really talked about that yet, but we will when we bring Suzanne back on. The 15-week course takes place on Wednesdays at noon Pacific, starting Wednesday, January 15th. And if you can't join us live, as I mentioned earlier, you won't miss the teachings. You will receive audio and video recordings, transcripts, and all course handouts on your course homepage. And also, I'd like to remind everyone that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on our courses, giving you until January 29th in this case. That's 2 weeks to make sure that you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect in a private Facebook community group. It's not required, but it's there if you'd like to. So if you're not on Facebook, that's fine. But that way you can stay connected with one another. Also, everyone who registers receives the Next Level of Sacred Mediumship bonus collection. First, you'll receive a video recording of a mentoring session from Suzanne. Next, you'll get a video teaching from Suzanne called Is All of This Real? And then you'll receive another video teaching from Suzanne, this one entitled Holy Shift. And finally, you'll get a compilation of video, worksheet, and meditation from Suzanne called Human Energy Field. And also, when you register by midnight Pacific on Thursday, January 9th, you'll receive this extra gift, and that is a video teaching and companion worksheet from Suzanne entitled Who Are You? Plus, as this is Suzanne's advanced course, her 7-week introductory training is bundled in, including the bonus collection that went along with that course. So you won't miss a thing. Lots of good stuff go along with this class. So Suzanne, before we get back into our viewers' questions, what are you most looking forward to sharing in your upcoming course?
Well, I do want to just say that I've tried to stay away from that word advanced course. I am teaching some advanced tools without a doubt, but it doesn't mean you have to be an advanced student to take the course. It's the next level course because it dovetails so perfectly with what we already covered. It doesn't matter if you haven't yet made the connection because there may be only 7 weeks into this journey. So it's just the next level of course of teaching with some advanced teaching in there for sure. The thing I'm most looking forward to, 2 things I would say. The camaraderie between the participants, I so loved that in the first level course because I could see in the Facebook group that people were finally able to share the same passion I have for this work with each other and share their experiences, to be supported by each other. I have a dear friend who just signed up for the course last night. She's been a practicing medium for years, but she says that where she lives in the country, it's kind of lonely because she doesn't have people to talk about with this. So she's looking forward to learning new tools and interacting with everybody. So again, that camaraderie. The other thing that I'm really looking forward to is this will be very unique in that I have a co-instructor for this course. Her name is Brenda Baker, a dear friend of mine. But the thing is, Brenda passed to the spirit world 2 years ago. She has made it clear that she's my mediumship guide now. She's right here, right now. I'm going to be sharing amazing evidence that Brenda truly is with us and how she was a teacher in physical form and teaching now from across the veil. She has some really awesome teaching, and I know she'll drop in on us live. In fact, during the live call with Stephen Dinan that I did to kick off this course, right beforehand, Brenda dropped in on me and told me that our dear mutual friend Lynette was having something to do with spaghetti. She showed me a great big plate of spaghetti and showed me it had to do with Lynette. And I texted Lynette and she said, I never eat spaghetti. I don't know what she's talking about. She never is around anybody that eats it because nobody in the family ate spaghetti. And the very next night, they went to a restaurant with people, family members they hadn't seen in a long time, and plate after plate of spaghetti came out, and Lynette was blown away. Those in the spirit world can see things that are about to happen. So it's really going to be fun to share the course with Brenda, who really is a bit of a hoot.
All right, great. I'm looking forward to that myself. Let's go back to the topic of channeling. We were talking about that before we had the little break. And here's a question from Jai, who says, I listened to you say that one night you were about to go to bed and suddenly you felt spontaneously the presence of William James. Once you become a medium, do you expose yourself to whatever entities wish to communicate you? And is there room for privacy, or does privacy no longer matter when you merge with the non-physical realm?
Oh, boundaries are incredibly important, and the spirit world will respect that. You just start from the beginning and say, Spirit world, I'm here for you if it will serve the greater good, if it will serve my soul's growth and anybody that may benefit from what you share with me. But for example, if you really need your sleep, do not awaken me in the middle of the night. I make myself available. I get some of my best teaching at 3 a.m. or right when I'm falling asleep. So I always sleep with a pad of paper and pen by my side. I do have boundaries in that regard. But yeah, absolutely. William James is part of my group called Sanaya. I wouldn't have believed it, but he told me all kinds of things about himself that I later found on the internet. And he teaches some of the greatest philosophy. You can feel his influence in some of my daily messages in the Daily Way, or Sanaya says, messages that I post every day. So by making myself available, again, with that very clear intention that I hope all of you share, that the greatest good be served by my opening to this wondrous adventure, then that is what will happen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Uh, you were talking about Brenda a second ago, having an expanded view of what's going to happen. And someone here is asking, do our loved ones in spirit have more power or access to higher knowledge to solve problems or clear obstacles for us? Can they give us assistance on things that are bothering us?
This just came through in a reading this week, and I put that in a video as well with the permission of my sitter, my client, that our loved ones absolutely want to help us and can and do help us to a point. But keep in mind, we're all here for our own soul's journey, and there are certain decisions that only we can make through our free will, because that will determine our soul's growth. So even Brenda has shown me she can teach us to a certain level, but she's also made it clear she doesn't have access to all information. She's showing me the Johnny Carson thing right now, where he puts the turban on and reads the things on his forehead. She says it's not like that, that you do get to a higher level, but there are limits to what each soul knows as their soul progresses. So, again, our decisions that we make here, the big ones, we're guided a bit, we're kept on track, but our choices are all important.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brenda, for your input there. So you sort of addressed this already, but let's make it a specific question. Diane's wondering, do people who've crossed over still have a physical appearance?
This is great, and many of you will be thrilled to hear you get to choose what you look like, and many choose to look about 35 years old, the perfect weight, the perfect appearance, and it happens instantly. What happens is when a spirit is talking to a medium, they will show up looking just like their loved one would recognize them. Because if they showed up looking completely different, how are they going to know it's them? So, for example, when my Suzanne passed to the spirit world, unfortunately, she was 6 months pregnant. But one of the most incredible pieces of evidence, when my husband and I went to a medium, which is what started my whole path that I'm on now, that medium said, your daughter is here and she's bringing forth a little baby boy she wants to introduce to you, but he's standing back shyly sucking his thumb as if he doesn't know you. And that was the brilliance of the way that that soul came through to us. Because if we did the math, by that time he would not have been a little baby, he would have been a toddler, but Spirit knows exactly what we need.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's see. Here's a question from Pamela, who wants to know, do you think that the veil is thinning because our troubled world is in such need of guidance from higher powers at this time?
I know that the veil is thinning, but I know that it has a lot to do with the positioning of our planet in the solar system. It also has to do with so many people's consciousness actually rising. There is an energetic grid around our planet that is, I talk about this in one of my books, taught to me by those in the spirit world, but many people are aware of this, that we are turning up our lights ever so slowly, but ever so steadily, and brightening our whole world, which is allowing more and more people to access higher consciousness.
Okay, thank you. Another frequently asked question, this is from Morgan. I'll read the short and sweet version. What barriers might stop me from connecting?
Number one is your belief in what you can and can't do. If you don't think it's possible, it won't happen. If you can't imagine that such a thing, anything would happen to somebody in the spirit world, that is a barrier. For example, if I couldn't imagine, I'm asking for an example here. Okay, I remember a reading where my client was about 40 years old and I was connecting with her brother who had just passed. And it never occurred, I just couldn't imagine that her brother was only 18. And I got his age wrong because I couldn't go there. So we have to become aware of what our assumptions are. And if we've never had an experience of something, don't know that it's even possible, that is a barrier to us. So our beliefs, our fears are absolutely a barrier. Physical challenges can be a barrier if we're experiencing some kind of illness. Chemicals that are in our system may be a barrier, but not necessarily. Depends on how we feel about it. One of my mentors actually takes, what is it? She takes morphine daily for severe pain, and yet she's one of the best mediums around. So again, that all has to do with our thoughts and our beliefs. Barriers. Those are the main ones. That's what comes to mind.
Okay, great. Thanks. Now, I mentioned a little bit ago that you consider your work to be evidential mediumship, and people are asking, how do I know if they're not doing a reading for another person and they're asking for evidence? How do you know that you can, if you already know something, how can it be considered evidence? And if you don't know it, how can it be considered evidence because you don't know that it's true?
Well, this is great. Well, this is when we learn to trust those in spirit world. You get it, you write it down, and then you go validate it. You find out later. Usually it's not just one piece. Once you start connecting with someone, you'll get a variety of things. So even if you can't validate everything, it's the preponderance of the evidence we're going for. Another really cool way to validate from people we already know and we think we know everything is you ask your own loved ones across the veil to tell you something going on in the life of someone you love here that you don't know. For example, when my Susan first dropped in on me, I knew it was her. I could hear her voice. I recognized her energy. It was the most beautiful visit. But I knew my husband would say, "Oh, that's nice, Suzanne," if I just said, "Oh, Ty, Susan is here." So I said, "Susan, tell me something going on in your mom's life right now, your biological mother's life, that I couldn't possibly know." And she said, "Her cat is sick." She said that and several other things. So we went and we called her biological mom, and she had just brought her cat home from the veterinarian with medication. So that was just a beautiful way to validate that that was truly her. Let me see. There was one other thing I was going to share. How do we know? Well, it is truly all about learning to trust, and they're very clever. So they love it when we discover things, even if it's after the fact.
Okay, great. Thank you. Gosh, let's see. Here's a question from Sandy. It says, do you think that your higher self or consciousness is part of your team of guides?
It's all one light. Your own higher self is absolutely speaking to you when you're connecting with higher consciousness. Ultimately, we're talking with and as source, one mind, one consciousness. So I try to tell people, we get wrapped around the axle and we want to name our guides and we want to know exactly who this is. But if what we're seeking in the moment is guidance and insights, and you get it, and it's incredibly helpful and it propels your soul's growth, fabulous. It doesn't matter who it is. Now, in a reading, certainly it's important to determine who is this that's speaking to me. So I'm going beyond the question here, but yes, we tap into our own higher consciousness all the time. But ultimately, all of it is higher consciousness.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Oh gosh, there's just so many questions coming in. I want to make sure that we're covering things that a lot of people want to ask about. Again, people are asking about the evidential part. That's a really important part of your work. So I guess let's just ask a general question. What is it about you, your personality, that makes you so adamant about getting powerful evidence?
Well, I could step into my commander role really fast. You want to see the commander? We'll just give you a nice sharp salute there. That's my background. Just used to being on a mission and having a goal. And my goal is to show my client, my sitter, your loved one is right here. Do you feel how I have to soften now? I have to shift roles back to the medium because the commander serves a purpose, but we got to set that aside and just get into the flow here. And always the goal of a medium is to show that consciousness continues beyond the transition called death, and that love is eternal. But we're human beings, and when we don't realize that, we need the evidence. So my mission is to show people how to get that evidence, because it's the evidence that changes lives. I just did a reading this week for a mom whose son had passed, and she had had a reading before. I didn't realize this at the time, but I just found out that that other medium told her, well, your son doesn't have anything to say. And she was really hurt by that, when actually I feel that medium probably just couldn't tune in. So this is one of the things we cover in my classes, what not to say and how to do no harm to your client. That statement was harmful to her. But in our reading, I'm very grateful we were able to connect beautifully with her son with incredible evidence. And she went online and she was listing everything. So you do need to be confident in what you're giving, because with technology these days, things can become public very quickly. But when you trust the spirit, they will give you amazing evidence and change lives in a moment. So that's what it's all about. And that's why I often say I do insist on evidence from those in the spirit world, and I do it with love, and they give it to us because they want us to know we are here. This is real. They want to cooperate, and they'll bend over backwards in the most magical ways to get their messages through.
Okay, thank you for addressing that. Just real quick, because we've only got a minute or two left. How can this course improve our daily life? How can learning these tools just help us in day-to-day life?
Well, I can watch the news and not get upset by it. Do I need to say any more than that? It gives us peace, instant access to the peace that is always here. It gives us access to insights as to how we can help improve the daily news, how we can add to our world and make it a better place. It helps us clear out long-held blockages, raise our beliefs. This is a total transformational path that we're on, because to be a clear conduit for those in the spirit world, we have to clear our own energy field. That's part of that commitment I was talking about. I see changes in myself all the time, and the growth is not always easy. But as I tell people, my daily prayer, among several others, is may my lessons be as painless as possible, because lessons are part of life. And when you know you're working with a team of guides who is here for our greater good, then this journey is less painful, far less painful. And we're brought to some of the most beautiful people here in human form as well, who are on this journey with us. And I think the greatest benefit that we enjoy is the increased love. Sometimes I'm just overflowing with love, so much so that I don't know what to do with it. So I jokingly say, watch out, I'm going to spew it all over everybody. But that's the thing for me. I love everybody these days, everybody, because I see the soul in them. Who could ask for more than that?
Well, that, I think, is a perfect way to wrap this up. This has been just a fantastic conversation. I want to thank our viewers for being with us today and for all of your fantastic questions. Once again, the next level of Sacred Mediumship starts Wednesday, January 15th. And again, you can visit nextlevelmediumship.com to learn more or to register. So, Suzanne, do you have any other final words, or do you think you're complete?
I think we're absolutely complete. And with love, you can't do any better than that. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Suzanne. It's been just a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you. And once again, I want to thank everyone who joined us. On behalf of everyone at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or perhaps another one in the future. Have a great day, everyone.